All right, so I am just getting on board here, putting all my things together so that I am clear where I'm at and making sure that we are all good to go. So if you're watching anywhere, go to Audrey Newmont on Facebook, and that's where I'm able to see comments. So would love to have you all join me there, and I can see your comments over here. I got it all set up, and hopefully my friend there who's looking to find me will find me on here. And so, again, for all of you that are live with me, please go to Audrey Newmont at Facebook, and not Conscious Mind Tripping, just the regular Audrey Newmont, and I can catch you there. And welcome. This is Conscious Mind Tripping with Audrey Newmont, me, myself, and I tonight. A lot of times I have a guest. In fact, I'll start with announcements. I'm having a fabulous guest on Wednesday. It's going to be the one and only Gina Ann, and she will be joining me. She is an amazing psychic, intuitive, and she is just a brilliant person. And earlier last year, I guess late last year, I had a session with her that was life-changing. And if you've been watching my show here, then you have seen it. So for those who are watching live, I see the little thumbs up. Say hi, so that way I know I'm here with you and I'm talking with you. Because this is one of those shows that's, let's just say, somewhat challenging for me to do. As many of you, in fact, the world knows, our area here in California has been just a bit of a nightmare. It has been quite the ride for so many people. And I just want to start by saying my heart goes out to all of you. I mean, the stories that have been coming in, the phone calls I've been getting from people who are stressed out and anxious and concerned and sad and angry and all of those, many emotions that we would be feeling in a moment like that. It's all valid and it's all right there in our face. And I just want to express my deepest heartfelt sympathy and compassion and concern for all of you that have lost your homes, your businesses, those that have been evacuated, and everything that goes along with all of that. Hold on just a minute. I'm going to have to respond to, there we go, I guess. Hold on, just be with me. There. All right, so I'm thinking that my friend here has found this. If you are watching, I can't explain enough. Please say hi in the comments. This is kind of nerve-wracking for me as well, so it's nice to have you to talk to. So with that being said, brief announcements. Like I said, Gina Ann's going to be on this coming Wednesday on the official Conscious Mind Tripping. Hello, Mr. Clace and Mr. Newmont. Now I can relax. I've got my husband online with me. Yay! At any rate, Gina Ann will be on this week. And then coming up soon, actually this Saturday, was supposed to be Gary Stewart. He was going to be hosting and facilitating his amazing workshop that he does, the constellation healing, but we have now backed that up to March because it has just been such a disaster here. And then we're going to be starting at the end of this month our Healthy Mind, Healthy Body course that Nick and I do, and we're bringing in some amazing guests like Eloise Buckner, Justin Formanek, Craig Shoemaker, Nancy Sachs, my doctor. So we're going to be, and Stephen Palmer. I mean, all these people are going to be our guest speakers for that course. And I'm promising you, by the end of that 8 weeks, you will have changed your life for the better. the healthy mind, healthy body, and healthy spirit. So it'll be nice to have you guys join us when we start that. And hopefully everything will have calmed down by then. And also, Nick is going to be having his show tomorrow night, Mainstream Metaphysics. Nick, in the comments, say who your guest is going to be, because at the moment I'm not 100% sure who that is, because my mind has been in a lot of different directions today. Let's just take a deep breath and ground and center Audrey here. So in the title I put in here, how to stay calm and grounded and centered, focused, prepared in moments of chaos. We're in it. We're in it. And it's been quite a ride. You know, for Nick and myself, we have been okay. And so for those of you that have been calling and texting and everything, and oh, I see you guys on here. Hi, Carolyn, Gina Ann, Camille. Love you all so much. Nick and I are fine. Our home is fine. Our business is fine. We've been out of electricity. And lucky enough, a few months ago, Spirit told me, you better get prepared. So I bought a generator and we bought some power packs. And I'm going to be talking a little bit about that at the later part of the show. So we're doing okay. But I'm going to just say it is nerve-wracking to be in all of this. And for those of us that have been through the various fires out here, you know, Nick and I, when we first moved out here, we got evacuated. And it's strange when the winds come like this, like they're going now. And somebody just texted me a little while ago, are you all okay? And I'm like, I think we're okay. Are you seeing something that I'm not sure about? And they thought that we still lived in Agora. So unfortunately, Agora is under a advisory warning. So it is quite a moment and it is nerve-wracking. And I just want to talk about all of this tonight because I think that a lot of people, it's like, number one, I've had quite a few people who don't have somebody to talk with. You know, and when you're watching and you're getting your information from the news, it's kind of scary. You know, it's like you're watching the news and you're seeing all this devastation and it's filling the mind and it's really frightening. So you're not going to get a lot of how to be calm and grounded and centered while watching the news. And then I know that there's all these different avenues where you can get that. But I thought, you know what? You all are my friends. Many of you are my clients, and many of you have watched this podcast. So I thought I would come on here and address these things and talk about it and see what we can all do together as a collective. So as we're talking tonight, I just want to invite you to write in the comments if you have any questions or if you have anything that you would like to share. This is absolutely an interactive time tonight. So, you know, put it in the comments. I'm watching on both sides here. So I wanted to start by saying, I think it's important for all of us to have somebody to talk to and for us all to have somebody that we go to in some way, shape, or form. Like I'm being a source here. I have a source or two, and I had a session with one of my sources the day before yesterday, and that was Merlin. Nick channeled for me, and it was in a lot of ways very reassuring. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what was said in that session, because what I'm going to say tonight, on a level we all know. I mean, I can say it and you'll hear it and you'll be like, oh yeah, I know that. And I know that. But sometimes we forget. And when we're in the midst of chaos, when we're in the midst of so many things that are going on and we're in literal fear, because sometimes it's scary. I mean, you watch these videos of people having to leave their homes, having to run out in the middle of fire, and all the things that many of us have been watching. It is terrifying. And when we're in fear, whatever level of it, when we're in those kind of emotions, I call them fear feelings, our brain isn't 100% on. And it makes it where it's hard to think clearly. So that is yet another reason why I wanted to do this tonight, to kind of remind us of what we're not thinking clearly about sometimes. And where can the feeling of emptiness and empathy exist at the same time? I'll address that in a little bit because that is a very, very good question. And they're two very, very different emotions. You got to remember something with all of our emotions. They're very creative in the body, which is why I talk over and over and over again about this. When we're in these kind of feelings, especially anxiety, terror, literal fear, I call them fear feelings because most of the time they're false evidence appearing real. Fear. And the reason why I talk about those kind of feelings is they're very creative in the body. So when we're experiencing like anxiety, stress, worry, those kind of things, our heart is producing electromagnetic energy, which talks to the 50 trillion cells in our body and goes into those different responses. Like your hands will tense up and you might stop breathing and you start getting like, very tense in the body. That's your body literally saying, hey, we've got to do something. We've got to go into that fight, flight, possibly freeze maneuver. But it's also talking to the brain. And when it's talking to the brain is telling the body, hey, let's produce an overload of adrenaline, an overload of cortisol, stress hormones. We've got to be on high alert. And when we stay on high alert for an extended period of time, number one, it's exhausting. Your adrenals can get shot. But it's also very important to get, when we live there for an extended period of time, it gets to the point where we're not thinking clearly. We literally get into a bit of an overload, and our thoughts aren't, the roadmaps in your mind, they're not lined up. It's like sometimes, if you think about the car analogy, it's like we're driving and we're getting off of the freeway and doing the loop, and then we get back on. It's like, and then we get back off. And we're not literally grounded and centered and focused and lined up on what we're doing. Many times, I mean, when you're having a moment like this, wherein it's an overload for all of us, how many times do you, in fact, I'll give you the example of it. I was on the phone with somebody today, and we were both like, what is that person's name? And we were both like, I can't even believe I don't know her name. Well, it was Judy Mikovits, who is an amazing person in the world. You can look her up. She's phenomenal at what she's been doing. But we both were like, what is going on here? And was like, oh, because we're in overload. So if you find where you're just not able to remember things, where you go into a room and you forget why you went there, all these things are valid. It's all what can be happening right now. And it's important to get. That's why you have to stop occasionally. Like, for instance, when all of this is going on, I wanted to talk about some of the solutions with what we're doing. First and foremost, there has to be a point for all of us where you turn your mind off. Like, as an example, I was laughing with Nick yesterday, and everybody does what they do in these times of emergencies. And you can watch people when they go on overload. Sometimes people get very bossy. Sometimes people, they just tune out and they can't do anything. Like somebody was telling me today, one of my clients said, their partner just literally couldn't even focus, had to be watching something on TV or whatever. So we all have our things that we do. Hey there, Miss Ashburn. I'm going to pause what I'm saying so I can look at these comments and see who's in here with me. Um, love you, Jason. So The reason why I'm saying all of this is because when we're all on an overload like this, sometimes we do forget. So, like when I had that session with Merlin yesterday, there was a big part of it where I wanted to be reminded and I wanted to be reassured and I wanted to have a little bit of direction. And so that's exactly what I got. He basically let me know all of these things. He reminded me of things, and it was reassuring. And when I finished with the session, I felt better. So, in having this time with you all, I wanted to do the same thing and have a bit of a session here. So, to go back to what people do in the midst of this, I want you to think about your own life. And what do you do normally when there is chaos going on around you in a moment like this? Think about it. And I'll tell you what I do. I was laughing with Nick the other day and I was like, "Do you know what I do when this all happens?" And he said, I think I forget what exactly he said, but I'll tell you what I do. And I was laughing with my friend Kim today about it. I said, the other Kim, by the way, no, I don't eat chocolate. I'm off sugar now. Of all things, I chose this moment to go on a detox. No sugar, no chocolate, Michael. It's a shame. At any rate, what I do, are you ready? I clean. I'll literally turn off everything and I just clean and I organize. And so, like the first day that these fires happened, it was like Nick and I, in the part of being prepared, that thing of having a generator. I have to tell you a funny story because sometimes there's got to be the amusing part of everything as well. I was like, all right, we have to be organized, we have to be prepared, we have to have our shit together here, Nick. We gotta unpack that generator and we've got to get that thing going before the refrigerators melt, right? So we pulled the thing out and we're looking at it, and it's like they had said it doesn't come with oil in it. So I'm thinking it did come with oil. So I bought oil separately. So then we're looking at it and it's like, well, where do you put the oil? And we're looking at the diagrams, and between the two of us, I mean, we're not stupid people. We're actually very intelligent, but we're looking at the directions. And it's like the smoke is going, there's all this stuff that's happening, and we're figuring out how do we set this thing up. And it took the longest time to figure out you have to take off a whole panel. You don't realize that this panel comes off, but we finally realize, oh, you got to take off the panel. Okay, we get the panel off. I had bought this oil, so we pour the oil in it. We figure all that stuff out. We put the panel back on, and we finally get it started. And along the way, I'm looking at Nick at a point, and I looked at him. I was laughing. I said, "Are we stupid? We can't figure this thing out." Because they don't make it that clear. So I'm going to create a whole video of just how to get a generator going, because it's part of the thing is you don't want to mess it up because you're dealing with like flammable things in the middle of a fire, for God's sake. So we get the thing going. He pulls the handle and he gets it going, and all of a sudden, all this black smoke starts pouring out of it, and it's making this god awful noise. And I was like, "Oh my God, turn the thing off!" To find out, Pauline showed up and she got the wrong weight of oil. So then these two therapists, we have to put the thing up on wheels or up on boxes so that we can drain the oil so that we can put in more oil. I mean, it was like ridiculous and quite amusing at the same time. So we get the generator going, and I just want to say, comes to the part of being prepared. Highly recommend having a generator, having also these things that luckily Nick got for, we got it for Christmas, and for, I had bought it, he had bought it earlier for the Christmas lights, actually. They're these power packs, and they're by the brand called Jackery. And they were great at keeping refrigerators going, cell phones going. They charge with solar. They're really fantastic. So when you're looking at all of this, part of what can put your mind at ease is if you're prepared. So if you don't have one at this point, find a way to get a generator so that if the electricity goes out, your food stays and you have that sense of calm because you know that these things are taken care of. It was, I mean, thank goodness it was one of those things where it's like, thank you, Spirit, for telling me to get that generator. Let me see what you guys are talking about here. You are absolutely right, Michael. Nick is down there watching the Rams, and he's got one eye on the on here. But I'm telling you, those Rams do something. I'm gone. I'm out of his mind. We are. I do that too when my mom was in the hospice. I know, right? There's something about cleaning. When I was a kid, my mom would make me clean our whole entire house every single weekend. And I didn't realize it at the time, but she actually kind of did me a favor. There's nothing else going on while you're cleaning, so it's a meditation. So I clean, I organize, and I'm literally meditating at the same time, bringing myself grounded and centered and calm. And if you're going to have a vice, it's not such a bad one, right? Michael's saying, when not in use, drain the gas from the generator, it'll clog the carburetor. I used to sell generators in Florida. Oh, well, here's the funny thing. That generator, the next time we went to start it, it wouldn't start. Come to find out, that thing that gets clogged, we had to unclog that. It was like, once you know, but we've never used a generator, so we had to figure all of that stuff out, and it's quite a task. Yeah, Kimberly. You know, I was just on a quick side note because I think it's important. Your mom, my mom, a lot of us that are of a certain age, we just had to do our chores. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You just had to do it. And I'm finding as I'm working with younger people, and I'm going to give a kudos to a mom and a teenager that just came in this past Saturday. If you're watching, you know who you are. And the teenager, he works. He literally has to go and he has a job that he does. And he was saying that he didn't want to. Good evening, Miss Allen. Nice to have you join us. This kid didn't want to go to work because he didn't want to go to work. And I had them both in the office at the same time. And I said, I get it that it's a lot for you to go to work and maybe a lot of your friends aren't working. But you going to work and having that job is teaching you a lot. And one of the things that I work with other teenagers and young adults, it is a struggle for them sometimes because they haven't learned that piece. They haven't had to work. They have been somewhat entitled and they have not owned a certain level of resilience as well. And so I was telling this kid, I get it that you don't really want to be doing that, but along with putting money in your pocket for whatever you want to use right now and also for college or whatever, you're developing your prefrontal cortex and you're developing that part of your mind that's like the choo-choo locomotive that pulls the rest of your brain. And when you're growing that on having strong ethics and having strong character and being able to work and, sometimes you don't want to go, but you do it anyway, that is going to serve you in life. I've had a client one time have to come home from college after one semester because they didn't learn that and they didn't know how to do some of the things that needed to be done in life. So when you're learning to work at 15, and by the way, I started working at 15, I know that work ethic pretty well, and that's not something that I've ever had to struggle with. But when you don't learn that, so for parents, it's important that our kids learn this and they own that ability to do chores or do that job or whatever those things are. That's one of the important things that we teach them. I know a lot of parents, they just want their lives to be so good and for them to have fun and them to have a great adventure. But, there's a part of it as well where you have to learn those parts of life. So So I want to get back to what we were talking about because I got distracted with that cleaning business. Ah, so I want you to think about when these things are going on and what you're doing in your own life because we get to choose in moments like this. And one of the things that I find to be very, very common with people, a paper route at 12 is amazing. Yeah, one of the things that I think across the board is important is Kimberly. I think we had mothers that must have been related. My mother, the minute that she realized that I could do it, she made me stand on a chair. I would have to wash the dishes standing on a chair. I totally get that. And there's a part of it when you're a kid and you're very resentful, but there's also a part of it where I don't struggle with certain things because I've had to do them my whole life. I mean, I'm 62 now. I've worked my whole life and I've been an entrepreneur, owned my business most of my life and, making it happen. And a lot of that is because you just have to keep doing it because nobody else is going to do it for you. And you have to learn along the way from the mistakes as well as, the really good moments where you've been very successful. And it's a whole process of life. And I think when we had to learn that at a young age and you didn't have anybody doing it for you, it's like if I don't do it, nobody's going to. At any rate, oh, Nick, your mom made you dust the house. You're so cute. I dusted the house, cleaned the bathrooms, vacuumed the floors, cleaned out my mother's nasty ass ashtrays, cleaned the kitchen. I would have been grateful to just dust the house. Let's see what he says about that. At any rate, getting back to this moment and dealing with dealing with what we've got going on, seriously, one of the most common things that many of us do is you're in the moment and you see those things happening. Like, for instance, in this moment, there's all these fires. And I'm telling you, when you get evacuated or when there's a possibility that you're going to get evacuated, it's very scary. And it's important to get, like, for instance, I have a few friends that got evacuated and their house is okay. So when you get evacuated, there's a part of it, or if you see that you're getting in the zone, or if, like, in a moment right now, here we are, and the winds are crazy out there again. And like I got this text from somebody earlier, are you okay? And there's a part of me that instantly goes into, oh shit, what's going on? That would be a normal response. And so then you have to look at, oh, wait a minute, what's real, what's true here, and what's going on exactly. And so there's a part of it where you have to bring yourself back down to calm. And why this is important is when we're calms the base over here. Remember all these feelings I was talking about earlier? That's your fear feelings, anxiety, stress, worry. That's where we're not thinking clearly. So why you want to go back to calm? When we're calm, we're thinking clearly, and then we can make conscious choices. And then we can look at things rationally, with reason, with logic. We're in that critical thinking part of our mind where we're going to make the choices that are going to be beneficial for ourselves and those that we're responsible for. So how you can bring yourself to calm in a moment like that, you literally stop the car before it goes zipping down and you're rolling around in whatever that feeling is. Like, stress can turn into anxiety, can turn into panic, and then you're really not thinking clearly and you're literally out of your mind. So how you can get calm in a moment like that, where, like, for instance, right now, we're all looking at what the hell, is this fire going to happen again? Because it can get started in any kind of way, right? I'm not going to go there right now. But what I will say is how you choose calm, you literally stop yourself, stop the car before it goes down the hill. And you stop the car. I'm okay. My family's okay. We're okay right now. In this moment, I'm okay. So I can be calm, so I can think more clearly. Another way to be calm is to go into your breath. The breath is the natural way for the body to relax. So as you're choosing calm, all right, I'm going to breathe right now and I'm going to focus on the breath. Allow my energy to get grounded and centered so that I can think clearly. Then, in the thinking clearly, we've all been trained, unfortunately, and we're retraining ourselves to focus on the solution. So, in a moment like this, there's a part of it where this is the most common thing that I see. Oh my God, what if? What if those fires come across the hill and they burn my house down? Oh shit, what if? Well, it hasn't happened yet. So let's not what if. If you find yourself going into what if, that's where you have to stop. That's not real right now. I'm in the moment, in the present choice point right now, in this moment. I know I'm okay and my house is okay. My family's okay. My pets are okay. What do I have to do to keep everybody okay? The most important thing, believe it or not, for anyone that I'm talking to, is you. In order for everything to be okay, you have to be okay. So, for those of us that are responsible ones, the parents of the group, whatever, if you're someone who's responsible for other people in any way, shape, or form, believe it or not, they're not, you're the most important thing. So when you're being the most important thing, that means I have to be grounded and centered and focused and calm so that I can make the decisions that are best for everyone, along with maybe the people that you make decisions with. But you can't make those decisions from a place of fear. Well, you can, but they're not going to be as powerful as if you're making them from a place of calm. So when you find yourself in that position of calm, as I'm talking, we're getting another fire alert. It's at the conference. Hello, Miss Kiki in the house. So when we're looking at all of this, the reason why I make such a big point of it is because in those moments, I think we just forget sometimes that we have the ability to be calm. Like, for instance, when we had these things happen the other night, and I looked at everybody and was like, look, we need to be prepared, get a suitcase together, and told Milena and Nick and myself, we all had our suitcases. We pulled them out. We had emergency stuff ready to go in case we needed to go. So, another part of all of this, when you're in the moment now, even though the fires may be somewhere else or whatever might be whatever else, if there is anything at any given time that it's like you look ahead to the future and it causes you anxiety, stress, worry, any of those things, all of those feelings are creative and not in the way that you want. What is creative in the way that you want is that you be calm and what are the solutions I can put in place. So, as an example, I have people that I love that got evacuated and they're looking at everything. They got themselves prepared and they went to another place to be and they made all of the choices and they made it all work. And they stayed calm in the process of all of it. There's all of these choices that you get to make in any given moment. So when you're looking at your own life right now, and if you're in this moment and you're in one of the areas that could be an evacuation possibility, literally take the time, be calm, and look at what can I do? What do I need to get together? How do I leave this in the most opportune way and in the most, positive way that you can? Is all this making sense? I say it because I think that there is a part of it where people don't want to look at that because maybe it's too scary or whatever. It's like, I just don't even want to go there. When you're able to look at the thing that you fear and you're able to ahead of time focus on what you would do about it, doesn't mean that it won't be hard, it won't be difficult. Like, for instance, I was talking with somebody today who their house burned down in a fire recently. Then they rebuilt a house that just got burnt down again. It must have been terrifying for those people to be looking at, oh my God, I just finished, I just moved into my house, and now I might lose another house, and they do. You know what that person said to my friend who told me the story? Well, at least we know how this looks and we can rebuild. What else are they going to do? So when you're in any given moment and there is a part of it where you start imagining what's the worst that could happen, there is a solution for these worst that can happen. And I'm not saying that's not hard. It's really hard. And it's like my heart just can't even describe the feeling for all of these people who have lost so much. It's really, really hard. And they still have their life. They still have this God given body. They still have the ability in some way, shape, or form to move forward. And it's not going to be easy. It's just not. And that's the other part of what I wanted to talk about. It's like, and this might be challenging, just saying, there's a part of it where, as a community, one of the things that I've seen, and it's so challenging because it's like we have become so divided. And it's this moment, and I'm just going to say kudos to all of you. I have one of my best friends. It's like, oh my God, we got out there and we started donating and we went to different places and we did all of these things. Kudos when you can do that. Kudos to people who are bringing other people in. I've seen the stories. I know people have told me. I've brought in all of these different families. I've brought in this, I've done that. Kudos when you can do that. Kudos to giving to the GoFundMes. Kudos to us being a community of people who be there for each other. I think if nothing else, one of the things with this is the ability for us all to regain more of that part where we're with each other, where we're compassionate and empathetic with each other, and we are able to come together as a group, as a huge community to support each other. How do I say this without? I have somebody that I know, and it's like, it boggles my mind. This is, if you have a space within your heart where there is an inability to reach out to other people who might not have somebody, question that. Look at that. It doesn't benefit you. So if there is somebody who has reached out and you just are like, no, I can't be bothered in any way, shape, or form, and I'm not saying that's you, but if there is somebody that or you have a part of you that does that. That doesn't support your own heart. So this is a moment where it's important to really look past those things that other people have done and find a way to let go and embrace. Like, for instance, I've known a few people in this scenario where it's like families were divided, friends were divided, and they've been able to overcome those things that created the division to be back together again. And in a moment like this, in the chaos, finding that space in a chaos where it's good, those are the moments that can be good. So if there's somebody that you know that could be in the middle of all of this, and there's a part of it you don't want to reach out to them because of something in the past, this is an opportune time to open your heart wide and let the stuff be done, learned from, understood, and let go, and maybe start at a new choice point. The person that I'm thinking of is just a wonderful human being on so many levels. And they reached out, and the other person, unfortunately, wasn't able to reciprocate. And it's important to get as well, if there is a moment where somebody is not being there for you in whatever way, shape, or form, to not take it personally. It's not about you. A lot of times, if you're reaching out to another person and you're wanting to have whatever that connection is, and they're not reciprocal, a lot of times it's not about you, it's their stuff. And so, really get that and embrace that. And if anybody doesn't understand that fully, you can call me separately and I'll talk with you about that, because in this moment in time, when we are in the midst of such a chaotic moment, it's really important to be present with each other and love each other and not be holding on to stuff that keeps us divided. Ah, Mr. Gourmet is in the house. If anybody has any questions, let me know, because, like I said at the very beginning of this is an open conversation, and and you know we can chat. I like it when you ask questions. Let me see in my notes here what I have not addressed at this point. By the way, I just want to say this isn't the easiest thing for me. There's a part of it where I'll be very honest with you. I have been dealing with my own body during this. When that first day happened, I don't know what was in the air, but I got kind of sick, and I've been in a bit of a detox and literally kind of foggy thinking. I'm curious if any of you have like kind of foggy thinking, like you're not thinking 100%, like you're not 100% present. Because I've been in that space, and I've been doing my infrared and Saragem when the electricity was on, and doing a detox bath. It's important to, when we're in a time like this, there's certain things that we all are at the effect of. So part of it is just the things in the environment. So if you can, stay inside as much as possible and with the windows shut, because there's things in the environment that when we breathe it in, it has an impact on the body. And I'm definitely okay, and I'm going to be okay, but it's been a little process of, clearing that out. And by the way, I have my fabulous Dr. Nancy Sachs, who luckily I went to last week, and she put me on a whole detox program. So while this is all going on, I'm detoxing at the same time. That's no chocolate, Michael. Anyway, so a little recommendation for that. It's a good idea, if you can, to get into an infrared sauna. That is a really brilliant way to get toxins out of the system. Taking a bath in Epsom salt, baking soda, Believe it or not, I actually bathe in borax as well. So I put all 3 ingredients in, and it helps to pull those things out of the system, helps to make my joints feel better. I'm not so creaky when I get out. And drinking lots of water is a good idea at this point as well. Also, there's supplements that you can take that really help with moving those toxins out as well. Like one thing that I do on a regular basis is drink chlorophyll. You can get it from like Sprouts. It's a drink. What? Mr. Newmont's in the house. He left his game. It must be a commercial.
It's halftime. I've been watching this show.
He's been watching the show. Everybody say hi, Nicholas.
Hey there.
Wait, I'll see when you can be in there. Right about there. Here, I'll make room for you. Everybody say hi, Nick. Come a little bit closer. Just a little closer.
So just a little bit about, for those of you watching tonight, and thank you for so many of you watching, please watch Mainstream Metaphysics tomorrow night, because my guest is our resident massage therapist, Justin Formanek, who has been on the show before. And what we're going to be talking about is how to calm the mind and the body in times like this. This is, I deemed my themes for, January as Mental Health Month. Well, I had no idea how much Mental Health Month was going to be. Also, today is full moon. It's a Cancer full moon. Of course, the moon rules Cancer, but Cancer represents emotions, the subconscious, and of course, everything about family, where Capricorn is all about the environment, the outside world, business, and all that. And where all the different planets are right now, and this is a wolf full moon, this is the time to really howl about what's right and what has to be illuminated. And a full moon illuminates everything. It brings what's in the dark into light. And we are in a time right now, while things seem kind of dark and bleak, we're headed on a path into May and June as Saturn and Neptune finally align, that there are going to be a lot of revelations that some of you that are watching won't be surprised. You'll say, yeah, I thought so. And some of you may be. But all these things that are happening right now that are really heinous, and by the intended to be heinous, these are not accidents. This is going to come to light. So, and this is all the unpredictability of the Aquarian age that we're in. As I've said many times, it's not about peace, love, and hippies. This is about major change, and we're living in it right now. But we're here to talk about it. We are here to survive. We are going to survive. You can take a human off the planet, but you can't kill the human spirit. The human spirit is eternally resilient. It just keeps coming back.
That was one of the key words that I was going to bring up, is resilience. This is one of those moments in a lifetime where you really have the ability to gain that resilience. That's that ability to look at this and pick yourself up by your bootstraps, dust yourself off. And it's like, all right, what do I need to do to move forward? And how am I going to make that moving forward valuable? How am I going to be of service in the world and moving forward? What does that mean? And so you're looking at all the things. How do I use what I went through for myself and others in the world?
Right.
Mm-hmm. The other thing I want to mention, are you comfortable enough?
I'm fine.
Yeah. A little bench we're sitting on in here. That's my little studio. There is this moment that is happening right now. And for a lot of us, you're looking at the possibility of arson. And you're also looking at the unfortunate decisions that have been made on the behalf of our people, the people that govern us. And many of us are furious, very angry. There's a lot of this that could have been addressed. A lot of this was unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there is a certain level of rage, anger, frustration, all of those really, really challenging feelings. And so, again, we don't want to live in those feelings. We don't want to be in victim anger mode. But what you can do is you can move it over to this side where you're in a righteous anger. And I am ridiculously righteously angry right now. There is so much that has happened and that is still happening and possibly going to happen. So, again, when you're in this moment and you feel like you've been a victim to something, you're in a big boat with a lot of people. When you're moving it over to righteous anger, what are you going to do about it? Make a decision for yourself. What can I do for myself, for my family, for my community, that I can use this righteous anger to propel me? That boat, you move it over to another boat where you are going in a direction where it is constructively creative for you. And that is something that we can all do. But there's another part of this where we're all going to have to really get what I've been saying to you all for all this time. I've been looking at all this news for 5 years. It's like I told one of my dearest people in my life, I'm not surprised that this is going on. I was expecting it. That's why I got the generator. That's why we got the extra battery stuff. That's why I do some of the things that I do. It's important, if you're looking at what's going on now, to understand that there are certain things that were intentional about this, and to be aware of there is a lot that has been going on that maybe we don't want to look at. Maybe I don't want to see it. Maybe that's conspiracy. All these conspiracy theories have been proven true. So many of them. So I'm telling you, what I've been looking at for 5 years, what I saw 5 years ago, it happened like 3 years ago or 4 years. It's happening. So when you're looking at what's going on right now, there's a part of it where there are aspects of it where you want to be aware and be able to see this is what we're looking at. Like, for instance, when I said a long time ago that there's all these people that are coming across our border, there we're coming across the border. They're still coming across the border. And these people don't have our best interests some of the time. So, why that's important that you look at it, what I said earlier at the beginning of this conversation, if there's something that we're looking at and we're in fear of it, and we're afraid and we're not making any intentional choices, then you can be at the effect of that. When you can look it square in the eye, like I've been doing, and you be prepared and you are creating from that space, there's a part of it where I look at all of this and it's like, that's not about me. I'm not putting myself at risk. I'm not putting my family, my friends, my clients. I am looking at it and owning the ability to keep ourselves safe. And most importantly, and this comes back to the number one driver, as I look at all of it, because I can, and I don't have to regurgitate it all here. You don't have to know all the details like I do. But I'm telling you, when you're in fear, you're not benefiting yourself. You're not benefiting anything. When you are over here and you're at least aware and prepared, and you are holding yourself in the highest, you are trusting in the first driver. You can call it God, divine matrix, source intelligence, whatever you want to call it. That is that's the number one. When I am holding all in my prayers, I'm choosing that timeline that says the best and highest is happening for all humanity. The best and highest is happening for me, for my family, for my friends, for my clients, for my city, for my state, for my country, for my world. And that's going to eliminate all of the fear because I trust in that higher source. And I know that there is a timeline where we are all good. And to be clear, that's where we're going. Right, Nick?
Yes.
Absolutely where we're going. So this is a moment to wake up and to be aware life is really good. And there is so much that's happening that, as much as it's really bad, it's for our benefit. These things, having that awareness that there's people who are just one thing in particular, just one little detail. They had this huge reservoir that's supposed to hold all this water, right? The thing was empty. Why was it empty? They had a crack in it. They could have fixed it by April. They could have fixed and filled the whole thing and be ready to go for this fire. It's no accident that thing wasn't filled. There's no accident there wasn't water in those hydrants. Just that little piece alone. You can't say that. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Do you want to speak to that?
No, you're saying it.
It's one of those things that gets me righteously angry. So when you're righteously angry, you're putting that first and foremost, and you're saying, this is never going to happen again. We will never allow this to happen again. And how does that look? What do we do about it as a community, as a collective? What are you going to do? So you don't have to personally just go in there and fix the thing yourself, but you definitely want to be able to open your eyes and not be distracted by all the things that we can be distracted by. I mean, there's a lot to be distracted by. So a lot of times people say, well, I'm not into politics. Okay, I'm not into this and I'm not into that. But I will be into being distracted by the TV or whatever those things are that are distracting. So another part of all of this, look at your life as we're starting this year together and we're being conscious in our mind tripping. What are you doing in your life that's distracting? Is it beneficial for you or not? Does it move you forward in the direction of your greatest dreams or not? Does it keep you prepared or not? Literally take that time to look at the balance of your life and what are the things that I'm doing that will keep me happy, in love, healthy, abundant, and successful. If it's not doing any of those things, could be a little addiction, could be a little distraction, could be a way to dissociate so you don't have to be present with things. But if you're not being present with things, then you're not aware and you could be at the effect of something that's not in your best interest. Just saying. All these comments.
Right.
Are you heading out again?
I am heading out, and you have 2 minutes left in the
I
show.
know you're
So-
righteously angry, Mike. Jason Michael Powers. I love that about you. You definitely put things out there like that.
So a lot of this will continue on tomorrow night at 6 o'clock on Mainstream Metaphysics, where we talk about calming the mind and calming the body, especially with what's stored in the subconscious. So tune in tomorrow night, please. You can sign off and say goodbye.
I will sign off
Right.
and say goodbye.
Goodbye,
So
everyone.
I know sometimes I get a little adamant with things. I'm not as adamant as I could be. I'm not as feisty as I could be, to be honest. But I'm going to just say this is an important moment in time. And it's not a moment to be afraid. It's a moment to be inspired. It's a moment to be really owning your ability to be in your power. And we're all extremely powerful beings. And it's important to wake up to that and be able to really get, when I say hold things in prayer, Mama Gaia, please Stop these flippin' winds. Rain down upon us. Cry your little tears upon this ground. I'm talking to the universe. This is being revealed. This is moving us into the greatest experience of life ever. When you are holding it in your prayers, you can't be afraid. You are in your love. You're in the light. You are allowing that energy to flow through you as you and creating from that space. I am divinely protected. Divine right actions happening in my life, in the life of my city, in the life of my country, in the life of this world. So when we're holding that place, there's no space for fear. And just to be clear, when we're in fear, you're creating for the other team. You're creating for people who are doing nefarious business. That's why they make all of these movies. That's why they do all of this stuff where they're showing all of these things. If you're afraid of an earthquake, if you're afraid of these fires, if you're afraid that these things could happen, that's creating for the other team. When I'm trusting in God, whatever you want to call that, took me the longest time to get to having that faith in that word God. But I'm telling you, when you have that faith and you allow that grace of God to flow through you, when you allow that love of God to flow through you, when you allow that feeling, because it's just a strong ass feeling to soar through you, and you are creating from that light, there's no space within any of it for anything other than love and light and power and joy and the best and highest happening for humanity. So trust in God. Have faith in God. Let that fill your heart. Create from that space and know that you are okay and that you're going to be okay, and love each other. There's no space in this moment for hatred, for grievances, for not forgiving. This is an important moment where you open your heart wide to all that is. I am that I am. So be that. Love one another, support each other. Do what you can, what little thing you can, or what big thing you can. To be honest, I created this podcast tonight because I can. This is somewhere I can be for you, for us. Okay? I love you all very, very much. And I will be back on again on Wednesday with the beautiful, fabulous Gina Ann. You don't want to miss that. She's phenomenal. And in the meantime, you all hold everything in your prayers. Hold us in your prayers. These winds are intense. It's a little nerve-wracking. So know and trust that this is ending, that we are going back to a calm state of affairs here in Southern California. And to be fair, I think there's fires going all over the world right now. So we know that divine right action's taking place. And I know I'm going a little over, but I want to say this. I've been saying this for a long time, and it's actually in the moment now. When I've been saying that, it's like there's a hurricane going on. Hurricanes stir shit up. And in that stirring it up, it's bringing what we haven't seen to the surface, like all the corruption that we've been knowing about. It's coming to the surface now. They can't hide it anymore. So the storm is going on around us. Stay in the center of the storm. Stay in the eye of the hurricane where it's calm. That's where the birds fly. And when we're in that calm of the hurricane, that's where we're going to think clearly. That's where we're going to make intentional, conscious choices. That's where we're going to be when we get on the other side of the storm. And there is another side of the storm. It's going to be a really good world. It is a good world, but we're getting rid of the riffraff. Let's just leave it at that. Okay? So with that being said, I love you all very much. I will see you on Wednesday, and much love to you. Bye.